Very good. So obviously 2 divided by x plus 1 will not exist when x is negative 1. Because negative 1 plus 1 will be 0. 2 over 0 is undefined. And then 1 over x minus 1 will require x not equal 1, because 1 minus 1 is 0, and 1 over 0 will be undefined. Would you agree? Okay, so then I will copy 2 over x plus 1 minus 1 over x minus 1. I would like to move this term to the other side. What do I have to do? Yes, so that's minus 2x. I'm also asking you to factor this for me, because now we know how.
X plus 1.
Very good. It's the difference of squares. And since I moved this term to the other side and I wrote the equal symbol, what is left on the right? 0. Very good. Please do not omit that, because otherwise you are changing the equation into an expression. If you move the only term from the left to the from your right to the left, then 0 is left on your right. Perfect. So we do have the restrictions. We moved whatever we had. We had one fraction on the right. We moved it to the left, and we set it equal to 0, of course. In the next step, we have to find the LCD. Bless you. LCD, the least common denominator. Do you all agree with the least common denominator being the product of the two denominators we see? Look what I do. The long fraction line, the equal symbol, and
0.
yes, because if I forget this, I'm never going to solve for anything. So if you all agree, that's fine. The least common denominator is this. Now, please follow through and ask questions. This is very important. The next step is very crucial here. X plus 1 was multiplied by this quantity to get this product, correct? X plus 1 was multiplied by this quantity to get this product. Agreed? We have to do the same thing to the top. This quantity was multiplied by x plus 1 to get this product, correct? We have to multiply the top of it by the same quantity. This quantity was multiplied by what to get this? Oh, nothing or 1, yes. You don't have to write the 1, I just wanted to make a point. But yes, moving forward, we don't have to write it. Is this step understood?
I remember when they taught it in pre-cal, they just said like when you did the x plus 1 thing, instead of doing that product thing, you could just cancel. So like if you were
Because you multiply both sides.
correct.
Yeah,
Instead of
I'm doing
having
it
to-
slightly
yeah.
differently because you'll see in a moment why. But I don't want you to switch to my method if this one doesn't make more sense than yours. If it does, switch. If it doesn't, don't. Okay, so can anyone tell us what to write at the top? Remember, we have to multiply this, meaning we have to distribute 2 to these two terms. Yes, here there is a negative 1 that has to be distributed to these two terms. And here's a negative 1 to 2x and 1. Yes, I'm ready. You said 2x minus 2.
Minus x plus 1.
Minus 1, very good. Minus 2x. Do we agree with this step?
Yes.
Everyone?
Yes.
Perfect. Now we have to step 3, combine like terms. Good. So these two go away. Then there is a negative x minus 3 over x plus 1, x minus 1. Do not write the beyond the equal symbol just yet. Just stop for 1 second. I want to ask a question. Can I write a 10 as 10 over 1?
Yes.
Can I write negative 7 as negative 7 over 1?
Yes.
Can I write 0 as 0 over 1? So what's different with just a number? Can I write 0 as 0 over 1?
No. Can we undefined?
No, it's only when it's on bottom.
The denominator is not 0. So we had 0 over 5. So 0 over 5 is 0. 0 over 1 is 0. 0 over 10 is 0. So 0 over 1 is the same thing. Yes?
Yes.
Very good. So I'm going to write 0 over 1. And I'm sure you're wondering, why is she doing this? Here's why. Because this is very...
It will cancel out.
No. 1 second. So A over B equals C over D. This is the situation. A fraction on the left, the equal symbol, and a fraction on the right. This is extremely important. Anyone remembers how we call it?
Property of something.
Proportion.
Thank you. It is a proportion. Why is this so important? Is because only in a proportion we are allowed to cross multiply, which means AD must equal BC. Now we changed our equation into a proportion. At this step, we can cross multiply. So how much is negative x minus 3 times 1?
Negative x.
Equals, according to this, whatever times 0, which is? What type of equation is this now? What type of equation? We just looked at it 5 minutes ago. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just confused on why we, I just don't get how you got there, because like, that seems like a bunch of, this jambalaya, and just to come down with.
Alex, I saw that. 1 second. Say it again.
This seems like jambalaya, we already had the equation.
This one?
Yes, it's meant for the fraction.
Because I need to review proportions with you, and I need to remind you of what cross multiplication is. Yes, Alex, go ahead.
Going back up to.
Yes.
Going back up to 2x minus 2 minus x minus 1.
Yes.
Could you just review how that came to be?
Sure. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Negative 2x times 1 is negative 2x. Better? Very good. Okay, so what type of equation is this? Very good. So we move negative 3 to the other side. Negative x equals 3. We multiply both sides. Yes, any questions? Please, go ahead. Okay, so we multiply both sides by negative 1 and we get x equals negative 3. I have no idea.
Could you just add it?
That's what I did. By moving one term from one side to the other, I added it in this case. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I have to go back and look at this. Is this number among the restrictions? No, so that must be it. It's the correct answer.
But anytime you move a number to the 0, it becomes positive, right?
So every time I move a term from one side to the other, it changes its sign. Yes. Yeah, because it's you're adding 3. You can write this, but it will take you longer.
Yeah.
Do I want you to switch from this to this method? No, not really. Not really.
I'm just trying to catch up.
Why do we switch the 3 over there to begin with? What kind of is that?
This one? But in order to solve this equation, I have to add 3 to both sides. And this becomes 0, and the 3 is here. Same thing. I just don't write it.
Okay.
I just say move this term to the other side, and it would automatically change its sign. For simplicity. But again, I don't want you to switch to the method if you're more comfortable writing it. Just write it in. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, can I choose another? Okay, very good. Let's say, what about 49? Same page, 120. And that is 1 over x minus 4. And minus 5 over x plus 2 equals 6 over x squared minus 2x minus 8. Now the first one took, I don't know, 6-7 minutes. Now this one should take us much less. So where do I start? I start by asking myself what type of equation is it? And what type of equation is it? Perfect, it is rational. So then 1 over x minus 4 minus 5 over x plus 2, and then
Factor that at the bottom.
Minus
Oh, yeah, minus
6 over equals what? Perfect. I'm not going to copy it the same, right? So I'm going to try and... Good. So can anyone factor for us x squared minus 2x minus 8? It's a trinomial. It's in descending order. No greatest common factor. No negative leading coefficient. No special product. But 1 is the leading coefficient. So then how do I factor this one? The product is negative 8. The sum is negative 2.
X minus 4, x plus 2.
Excellent. Then you are going to immediately give me 2 restrictions then, because I only see 2 different factors. And they are 4 and negative 2. Then you're going to give me what? Good. So you're going to give me next what? Yes, the least common denominator. Very good. Excellent. So now I'm going to ask you to give me the adjustments for the top. So what are the adjustments for the top of the first? The adjustment here.
8x plus 2.
Indeed. The adjustment for this one. And the adjustment for this one? 1, or you don't have to write anything. So when you're ready, please tell me what to write at the top.
X plus 2.
1x plus 2x.
Good? Yes? Excellent. Well done. Excellent. What is the next step? Good. So let's combine the top.
Negative 4x plus 16.
Plus 16. Very good. Divided by x minus 4 and x plus 2 equals 0 over 1. So please cross multiply. Yes? Yes? Awesome. What type of equation is this? It collapsed into linear. So negative 4x equals negative 16. I'm moving this term. So therefore x equals 4. Excellent. Conclusion. Only division by 0 is undefined. So what do we say about the equation? Has no solutions. This cannot be accepted. It's among the restrictions. It can be accepted. Any questions? Are we okay with rational equations? They're not easy. I would not ever say that. Do we need another example, or can we look at a word problem now?
Wait, so what did x equals 1 mean?
I'm sorry?
What were you saying that x equals 1 means again?
When we put 19.
It's among the restrictions. So it cannot be accepted. So therefore, we conclude that this equation has no solution. Is that clear for everyone? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So please tell me whether we need another example or not. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at one more. Okay, let's look at 50, same page. I highly recommend do as many as you can till you grasp the steps and understand and remember all the steps and everything. Negative 20 divided by x squared plus x minus 6. And then I would like to move on to a word problem before we continue. Okay, can anyone walk us through this?
I mean,
Yes, please, Alex.
the restrictions are,
You cannot write the restrictions before we completely factor all denominators. That's not possible.
well, to get rid of that, denominator 120, you gotta do, x plus 3, x minus 2.
Correct. But we still have to factor it before we state restrictions. So this is my first step. X plus 3 minus 5 over x minus 2 plus 20 over x plus 3 x minus 2 equals 0. But you're right. The restrictions are
Negative 2,
excellent.
distribute the x plus 3.
I have to find the least common denominator first. Good. And then we need the adjustments. For the first one,
X minus 2.
good. For the second one,
X plus 3.
and for the last one, in this case, you don't have to write anything if you don't want to. And when you're ready, please tell me what to distribute. 6x minus 12.
Minus.
So you cannot just distribute this sign to only pick and choose term, right? So you have to distribute all the way for this fraction. So that's why we have this. And then plus 20.
This is where you cross.
No, this is not a proportion. I'm not cross multiplying.
Well, I see that the x plus 3 times 5, that's where you got the 5x minus 6.
Yes. So negative 5 times x and negative 5 times 3.
And you multiply 6 and 2 to get the 12.
Yes, 6x minus 12.
Yeah, it's going too fast here.
Sorry. Can we combine like terms? Okay.
X
Yes.
minus 7.
Minus 7 over x plus 3, x minus 2, 0 over 1. So let's cross multiply. And what do we get?
X minus 7 equals 0.
Which means x equals? Good. Is this among the restrictions? Okay, so we'll say yes. If that's the case. And I know you're wondering, okay, rational equations, rational expressions, where will I see this? Okay, here it is. Ready?
Yes.
A company wants to increase the 10% peroxide content of its product by adding pure peroxide, 100%. If X liters of pure peroxide are added to 500 liters, right here, of its 10% solution, the concentration C, right here, of the new mixture is given by how many liters of pure peroxide, X, should be added to produce a new product that is 28% peroxide. So what type of expression is this? Yes, it is rational because it has X in the denominator, right? So let's copy that. So we're looking at problem 105.
That's page 120 also.
122. And this is C equals X plus 0.1 times 500. Say it again. Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot. Sorry about that. Over X plus 500. So they're asking us to find X such that that will produce a new product that is 28% peroxide. C is the concentration of the new mixture. X is the number of liters of pure peroxide that we have to add, and we want to get a 28% peroxide. Okay, what do we do?
Where's 28 to C?
0.28. So X plus 0.1 multiplied by 500 over X plus 500. What type of equation is this?
So rational.
Indeed, but this is already a proportion. So that's why I wanted to review with you proportions. And I know it appeared to be mumbo jumbo, but it's very important. The proportion is very important. Okay, so this is over 1. Yes, I should write that X equals negative 500, but of course I cannot add negative 500 liters. So in this case, there is not even a need to write a restriction for this case, because X cannot be negative 500 liters, right? So I can go ahead and cross multiply. So then 0.28 times X plus 500 must equal,
X plus 50.
yes, plus 50 indeed, so we can multiply this and we get 50. Excellent. So although initially we had a rational equation to solve, immediately it collapsed after, because we realized that it was a proportion, right? We realized it was a proportion, we cross multiplied, and then all we needed to do was to solve, what we need to do now is to solve the linear equation. So let's do just that. 0.28x plus 5 times 28. Is it 140? Equals x plus 50. What type of equation? We already said that. It's linear. So now I'm going to move terms around. You don't have to. If you want to write minus, minus, plus, plus, it's fine by me. But 0.28x minus x, from $1, if I subtract 28 cents, I get 72 cents, correct? So negative 0.72x equals. So then 50 minus 140 will be negative 90. And we divide. So 90 over 0.72. And tell me, please, how many liters of pure peroxide we have to add in order to increase from 10% to 28%.
Approximately 70.31. Oh, shit. Yeah, sorry, my bad. 70.31.
So 90.
My bad. That was right next to the thousand.
It's frozen. How much? 125. 125 liters. Any questions? I couldn't show it to you. It's frozen.
That's a whole lot of liters.
I'm not sure why, but it's frozen. Okay. Very good. I'll bring it up when we need it again. Any questions on this? Yes? Alex? Oh, okay. Good. So I think we can continue then. I know we still have 10 minutes. So you just saw in action the first application of factoring. What was it?
The equations.
solving rational equations by factoring, right? If we didn't know how to factor this, we would have had some difficulties in finding the least common denominator and further solve the rational equation. Would you agree? Good. So here's the second application, which is section 1.5. 1.5, quadratic equations. When we solve quadratic equations, we have 4 different methods. 4 possible methods. One of them is factoring, of course. And we have number 2, number 3, and number 4. We're not going to get to 2, 3, and 4 today, but we will practice the first one. Before I list 2, 3, and 4, I'm going to ask you, do we really need 4 different methods? Really 4? What's wrong with 1? Right? So the answer is this. Each and every one is used differently and is used in different situations. And it makes our life easier in certain situations. Right, Alex? No. Depending on the setup. Very good question. I'll show you. So factoring is the first one. The second one is taking square roots, of course, from both sides of the equation. Nothing is new so far. Everything is from the past experience with math that you had. But I have to review these things with you. So taking square roots. The next one is completing.
Square.
Yeah. Completing the square. And of course, the last one is the
Quadratic formula.
Yes. Yes. So when we finally get to review all 4, I will remind you exactly in which case we use what. But right now there is no need for that because we just want to factor a couple for the rest of the 8 minutes. So let's look at on page 167, solve each equation by factoring. So let's start with an easy one, number 4. So on page 167, which is x squared equals negative 11x minus 10. Of course, I will have to ask myself, what type of equation is it? Careful. So one more time. So we are talking about quadratic. We are talking about quadratic. It cannot be linear, bless you. It cannot be rational. It must be quadratic. Otherwise, okay, one more time. What type of equation is it? Excellent. Thank you. So we do have to move everything to one side. Move all terms to one side. In other words, set it equal to 0. So plus 11x plus 10 equals 0. Then we're, yes, please, Chris? No, because you will multiply both sides by -1 first. No.
It's just an extra step.
There will be an extra step, yes. So I'm ready when you are. Excellent. So now we are using the 0 product principle. When a product of 2 factors is 0, then either factor can be 0. X plus 10 equals 0 means x equals, we move, -10. And x plus 1 is 0, we move, and we get -1. So we used the 0 product principle. When a product of factors is 0, any of the factors can be 0. Okay, so let's choose one more, and then we can stop. Let's say 10. Any questions on number 4? See, that's why we spend so much time on factors, so we don't have to discuss this anymore. It's like this now, right? Good. So we said 10, 5x squared minus 20x equals 0. Okay, let me remind you again. I may show you a method that may be slightly different than the one you know. Do not switch to my method unless you find it easier. If you don't find it easier, forget it. Okay, I always simplify equations before I do anything. And in this case, and you can never divide by x. Note, never divide by the variable. Please remember that. But I can divide both sides by 5 to make it as easy as possible. And I have x squared minus 4x equals 0. Why not, if I can? It's like eliminating fractions. A few minutes ago, we eliminated fractions on some problem right here. I eliminated fractions because it was easier. This was even easier to the eye, right? This is poking, right? And this is much nicer. Same thing here. If I can simplify, I will always simplify. So now, it's a binomial. It's in descending order. Greatest common factor, yes. And I'm done. Apply the zero product principle again. We have 3 more minutes, so let's choose one more. Yeah, what about 8? Any questions? Still on 167. And this is 4x squared minus 13x equals negative 3. So we do not meet on Monday. I have to remind you, don't drink and drive. It's a holiday. So I'll see you a week from today. Let's finish this one. But I want to remind you that 1.1, 1.2, the factoring, the extra factoring assignment in my lab math, and 1.1 and 1.2. 1.5, not yet. Unless you want to just do the factoring. I would do just the factoring part. If it says anything else, I would not touch it because I have not presented that to you yet. Okay. So this is, all these are due next Wednesday. Is it the 4th? 1, 2, 3. We finished all 3. Please, and bring to class any question you may have. So of course, this is a quadratic equation, and we need to factor it. And it's the last option. It's in descending order, no greatest common factor, no negative leading coefficient, no special product, and 1 is not the leading coefficient.
C5 multiplies to 12 and adds to negative 13.
Right, we want 2 numbers whose product is 12 and whose sum is negative 13. Obviously, both of them must be negative. So what are we doing here?
12 and negative 1.
Negative 12 and negative 1. So 4x squared minus 12x minus x plus 3 equals 0. And now what do I do? What do I factor out from the first 2?
3x. I mean 4x.
Good. And we have,
6 minus 3.
and what do we have to have?
X minus 3.
And do not forget the 0, otherwise you're not going to solve. And negative 1. So that's x minus 3 and 4x minus 1. And the options are 3. Always remember, you move negative 1, it becomes positive, and you divide by 4.